Okay, everyone, this is my spoiler review of X-Men, the animated series, Season 5, Episode 10, Graduation Day. This originally came out September 20th, 1997. I have finally hit the final episode of this show. I started in August, reviewing 76 episodes, and here we are, so make sure to follow along and watch the old ones as well while you rewatch the show, getting ready for X-Men 97. And please subscribe so you don't miss my reviews of X-Men 97. So we open with Henry Gyrick, and he is proposing this mutant containment bill at the summit. And Charles Xavier shows up and he's coughing, where Beast will explain him fighting this legislation has exhausted him. And Gyrick says, I always wondered why you were such a mutant lover. Could Charles Xavier be a stinking mutant, he says. And Gyrick zaps him with this energy disruptor. It was a little disturbing too. You really felt bad for Charles here. It was a very intense moment. But it reveals Charles' true nature to the world. And when Logan senses Charles in his state, he tells the X-Men that he's dead. And what is cool is that Beast says this is one time Logan's wrong in his senses, because Charles Xavier's powerful mind is fighting still to keep him alive. Now what the X-Men will do is they'll contact Moira for help, but she says it's beyond the help of medical science. But this is where Beast connects the dots to they'll need Lilandra. But they have to figure out a way to contact her. And they all look at Jean, but Jean's like, I don't have the power to do that. But what's clever about what the showrunners did here was they cut to Magneto's helmet from that line. So it's foreshadowing Magneto is the one that is going to have to do that and has the power for it. So now we go to Genosha and we see this mutant uprising begins. I love the line Sunfire has here where he says Xavier was as normal as mutant gets, so that's why it's scary this is happening to him. He's like, he was famous, rich, and human looking. But this is where it's the perfect time for Magneto to show up, and he pumps them all up. And he's like, this world is our world now, take it. So I love they were able to squeeze in this finale, really seeing the full circle effect of Magneto's vision versus Charles Xavier's, and it come toe-to-toe, even though Charles Xavier's out for the count. They did a really good job with that. So we see these mutant riots all over the world, and I love we get to see this Magneto graffiti everywhere, even a Viva Magneto, which was great. And what I also thought was really clever they put in this finale was the way they got Morph back here, in the sense that they had you think maybe Charles all of a sudden was alive when he's talking on the news again, telling the mutants to stand down, but it's really Morph, and we get to see a great use of Morph's powers, but also get to hear that great giggle he does again. And it was so important they had Morph here, because he's literally been with the X-Men since the beginning of this show, so it makes total sense they'd bring him back. It was a great call. Now Scott will bring up to Wolverine they need to stop Magneto and these angry mutants, and Wolverine agrees because he says it's what Xavier would have done. So they did a good job in the writing too, of constantly making sure that the X-Men were doing this for Charles and what he had taught them. It shows the full character growth for all these characters. Now this is my favorite episode of Jean in the show. She's really a standout for me here, and she suggests to use her force field. She's like, I'm not going to let everything he worked for fall apart without a fight, which is a great line. And she uses the force field to protect Cyclops and Wolverine falling from Magneto's blast, which was great. And it looked great in the animation. And she'll be so important later on, being the one who connects the dots to Magneto having the power to contact Lilandra. And I also love they were able to squeeze in a great Wolverine line in this episode where Sunfire goes, I haven't seen you three around here before, and Wolverine says, hey, it's a big island, bub. What are you, on the yearbook staff or something? So Magneto makes another great speech, and he's like, coexistence with humans was a dreamer's delusion, and that's obviously taking a stab at Charles Xavier. He's like, you are the next step in man's evolution. There's not much action in this episode, but you do get some, which was good too. They were able to get that in with Jean, Wolverine, and Cyclops fighting Magneto. But what stops this is the reveal to Magneto that Charles is dying. And Magneto has some great lines here. He says, a sad ending to a great life. And Jean goes, how much do you love Charles Xavier? And he says, he was my only equal. I owe him my life. Like I said, Jean's the one who connects the dots, that he's the only one with the power to send his brainwaves, supercharge them because they're electromagnetic, to Lilandra. And Magneto's like, why now? My greatest enemy and perhaps my only friend. But Magneto's like, damn, like, he's got to do it, even though he's finally getting what he dreamed of. He's getting this rebellion, but this timing is so rough for him because he loves Charles and he knows it's the right thing to do. Now, back at the mansion, this is where the waterworks begin, because you're seeing the X-Men crying around Charles Xavier on his deathbed, and this is one of the best scenes of the show to date, and the best writing in the show, period. But Beast tells Magneto, beware if he should pass away while connected to you, the psychic stress may destroy you as well. And I love that Magneto doesn't even hesitate at this. That was such an important line to show what he was willing to just sacrifice himself for his friend Charles. And he's able to do it. He sends out these brainwaves to Lilandra, and Xavier wakes up from this. And he has a great line, surely you have more pressing business to attend to than nursing an old friend. And Magneto says, nothing more important. So that was sweet, and it was great to have that payoff with this friendship. And there's little great touches here visually too, like while they're all around him before he's about to speak, having Cyclops grab Jean's hand was great. And Charles says his goodbyes, very emotional, total tearjerker here. And I love he says he's proud of Morph facing his fears. And he says Gambit the scoundrel proving himself to be a hero. And I love the line he says to Jubilee, you are the future. When I look at your face, I see hope. That is great. That also gets you excited for X-Men 97 and what they'll do with Jubilee and how important she's of a character, just being someone that from this show's start Charles Xavier believed in. So I feel like they're going to keep moving Jubilee into a bigger spot. And I like he says, Storm, my beautiful Storm, mighty as a hurricane, gentle as a summer rain, which totally sums her up. And he says, Wolverine, loner, found a family, Wall Savage, you have found dignity, Cynic, you have found faith. And I love, they didn't show Wolverine crying, but he was in his own way by putting his hand over his face. You knew he was crying under that hand. And he has the best line to Rogue, unable to touch, yet look around you, you will find you have touched us all. And he says to Jean that really Jean is his true, I guess, favorite child, let's say. He says, your courage has allowed you to see things no other mutant ever has, yet remain the same innocent child I met so long ago. And they have that big bond too, because they both have those telepathic powers. And it's nice he gave Beast a poetic quote, which Beast would obviously love to hear. And he says, Scott, were I your father, I would tell you I am proud. So great. And showing Cyclops' emotional reaction was beautiful. And he says, I am proud of you all, my X-Men. And it's cool because we saw this part in the trailer for X-Men 97. So they're going to show you that effect and how big this is going to be, losing Charles Xavier. But Lilandra shows up. She says he will survive, but only under Shi'ar care. So Jubilee's like, can he ever come back? And Charles says, perhaps not in my body, my children, but my spirit shall remain among you where it was always meant to be. So this is supposed to be obviously more metaphorical, but it is important because we could obviously see him in X-Men 97 as his astral form, maybe coming from space. Some way he'll telepathically communicate to them. This is not the end of Charles Xavier in the show, clearly, having him go with Lilandra. So it's cool that they left that door open. It works out now with X-Men 97 coming back, that they don't have to retcon anything. They don't have to make it like, yeah, Charles totally died. They always left that door because of Lilandra. So that was so smart of them. It looks great. And I love with that line, it ends with that iconic shot of all of the X-Men lined up with Magneto outside, looking to the heavens. Beautiful ending. So I'm giving this one a 9.7. One of the best, definitely top 5 episode of the show. And honestly, it's not just a great show finale for X-Men. It's a great show finale compared to all series I've ever watched of TV. Like, it's one of the best. You couldn't have closed this better, in my opinion. Having all these payoffs happen and impressively doing this in 20 minutes, getting a little action, still getting a funny Wolverine line, bringing people back like Morph, having Magneto get his payoff in his relationship and his vision that clashes with Charles Xavier was really incredible. And still having time to have Charles' big moment talking to his X-Men. It didn't feel like it left anything that I wish they had touched upon. They covered it all. So that blew me away in its own right. And again, the writing, the best of the show was in that final scene with Charles and how he thanks all of them and is proud of them. Just beautiful stuff. So it's a legendary show finale in general. It's definitely in my top 10 of like wrapping a series perfectly. So props to everyone behind the team. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this episode. Give me your rankings of all the episodes if you want, some of your favorites, anything about the show. And give me theories too about X-Men 97, where you think this is going to go next, because I'm excited. We're going to continue this journey in a couple weeks, and obviously I'm going to be there reviewing. And I'm really grateful for everyone who's come along this journey with me. This is a new channel. I've been doing reviews a long time. My other main channel you can always check out, Steve Varley Show. I do regular TV and movies and interviews, but I'm excited to do a lot of X-Men stuff, and I'm really excited to meet all you guys. All you X-Men fans have been great, and people came with me from Steve Varley Show. I'm really appreciate you guys too, and I hope to just continue this X-Men journey with you guys. I'm going to be reviewing X-Men 97, X-Men movies, obviously Deadpool and Wolverine, and have interviews out for X-Men stuff as well. And please subscribe, follow along. I'm also on Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. I appreciate all you guys, and I'll see you next time.